We've issued a new WRAL weather alert day tonight. An update on the storms that will impact your evening tonight and an even higher risk for tomorrow's WRAL weather alert day.
From how you get to work to where your kids go to school, where Raleigh, Wake County, and the public school system stand on some of their biggest projects.
UNC and NC State's men's basketball teams are only playing once this year. That's something that hasn't happened for more than a century. We're going to go to Murph's Turf to tell you why.
Well, let's take a look. This is the kind of radar that's going to trigger a WRAL weather alert day. We had the rain and the thunderstorm warnings. We put that alert out there for you, and a similar risk for storms is coming tomorrow as well. Thanks for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Dan Haggerty. Kat, so people are starting to wonder, are we going to see the sun at some point this week? It sounds like we're going to have to wait just a little bit longer.
You'll get to see some sunshine Saturday, especially Sunday into next week. It finally looks drier. But out there tonight, all of this in South Carolina is moving into North Carolina. So we've got a long ways to go in terms of rain chances. While we haven't seen all that much rain in the Triangle, this is going to move our way. So it's going to be a wet night out there. We do have a flash flood warning in effect for Cumberland County, up into Dunn and southern Harnett County, parts of Johnston, as well as Sampson counties. This is until 8:45. Some thunder and lightning and torrential rain in pockets with that round that's moving in. We are starting to see some light rain close in on Holly Springs here in Fuquay Arena. Those will be some of the first areas that see the rain, but it's still quiet in Wake County for now. Storm chances reach 80% tonight, and they'll stay high even after midnight. We will gradually see our storm chances subside as we get into tomorrow morning, but the main window of concern for tomorrow will come later in the day. It comes with this cold front that we're going to watch for a line of thunderstorms to develop out ahead of. For today, there is a level 1 threat for severe storms for most of our viewing area, a level 2 threat now closer to the coast, and tomorrow it's a level 2 threat for all of central and eastern North Carolina. I'll walk you town by town through tomorrow's storm timeline coming up.
Thanks, Kat. Brian Schrader here in the WRAL Live Center. You saw on live dual Doppler 5000 radar that line of some heavier rain and maybe some thunderstorms moving in from Burlington into the northern parts of Orange County. This is a live camera in Hillsborough on 85 out at Churton Street, looking towards some of those gray skies there in the distance. We're also getting in at least one video of some of the storms in Sampson County. This is from Teresa in the northern part of Sampson County, where it was really pouring in the Plainview and Mingo areas. You can see the wind blowing around and all of that rain falling in the backyard there. A reminder, when it's safe for you to send us pictures and video of what's happening in your area, we'd like to see it at WRAL.com/report it. Also, very quickly, a check of power outages in Cumberland County. About 840 customers right now without power.
All right, thank you, Brian. Hey, stay ahead of these storms. Download that WRAL weather app. You can follow along with an interactive radar. You can also sign up for those push alerts to get sent right to your phone when storms are heading your way. It is free to download. So the head of a Raleigh church used nearly $500,000 in COVID-19 loans for personal use. Word of God Fellowship Church pastor Mitchell Summerfield pleaded guilty to fraud this week. WRAL's Carly Haynes is live at the church now. And a lot of people are going to be disappointed by this news, Carly. Summerfield did have other businesses. Give us an idea of how this was all broken down.
And these charges involve those other businesses, not this church. But this is a well-known church in the area. It's been around since 1988, and these charges surround the current pastor of it. As you said, Pastor Mitchell Summerfield, he pleaded guilty this week to COVID-19 relief fraud in connection to those other businesses he owns. According to those court documents, for a year starting July 2020, he conspired with others to lie on multiple applications for Paycheck Protection Program and economic injury disaster loans. Prosecutors also charged him with lying about his income on tax forms. As a result, he got $400,000 for the government, and he has admitted that money went towards personal uses. He hasn't been sentenced yet, but he does face a max sentence of 30 years in prison, a $1 million fine, and at least 5 years of supervised relief. Dan?
You know, Carly, you think back to then, and it seemed like the government was just giving out so much money to so many people. And now you fast forward to now, and there have been hundreds of COVID fraud cases similar to this since 2020. It appears the government really is starting to crack down on this sort of thing.
And back when these loans first became available, there was that rapid onset of applications. So it's possible that some of these fraud cases really slipped through the crack, and that's why the government is really going back and checking their work, so to speak. And they've even created a federal task force in 2022 for this very reason. So we're starting to see those cases come up.
All right. Thank you for your reporting tonight, Carly. Appreciate it. Everybody, if you're just getting to the news tonight, let's get you all caught up. Here are the 5 things you should know right now. Today, the family of Tyrone Mason, the man killed in a crash after a highway patrol chase, said the troopers involved should be fired. Body camera video, you may remember, shows their supervisor suggesting that they lie about what happened that night. Wake County District Attorney Lauren Freeman decided, though, not to file any charges. Now Mason's family wants her fired, too. But Freeman says, quote, lying is not a crime, and she has dismissed hundreds of cases involving these troopers. She also said she thinks the Mason family's attorneys are misleading the public. A man is recovering after he says he was bitten by a shark at the North Carolina coast. Sean Barton was visiting Sunset Beach when he was bitten. There he is. He said he was bitten by something on Wednesday. Family members say they did see a shark swimming nearby at the time, and Barton had to get 11 stitches in that leg of his. The doctor who treated him did say it looked awfully like a shark bite to them. Tomorrow, we expect to learn who the next Fayetteville police chief is going to be. City leaders are holding a news conference at 12:30, and this comes after former chief Ken Braden retired after 2 years as chief. Assistant Fayetteville Police Chief Todd Joyce has been serving as the interim chief in the meantime. 80 DMV employees just graduated for training, and they're ready to go. They're headed to offices all over North Carolina, and people are thrilled about that, especially if you're one of those folks waiting in line like these people. The DMV has so many staffing issues, and they've dealt with that for years. We've covered that extensively here at 7 o'clock. Not only are they getting more workers, the DMV is actually adding Saturday walk-in hours, too, starting this weekend. We'll see how much it helps. North Carolina lawmakers may need to cut back on the new state budget. Budget experts who work for the legislature say the budget surplus will be $200 million less than they projected back in February. That's about a 33% drop. Democrats think this means lawmakers should drop future tax cuts, but Republicans have not commented on the new forecast. All this talk of taxes and your bottom line takes us to our quote of the day. The current path that we have for funding these services is not sustainable. We are in a crisis. That is your quote of the day. Some strong words from Chris Haggerty, the Wake County School Board chair. He was one of several people who spoke during Raleigh's State of the City discussion today. City and county leaders talking about the future of our area. And among those top concerns are keeping affordable housing, making commutes, I should say, easy, and funding our public schools. And as Haggerty said, he's worried the cost of these services is reaching a breaking point. WRAL's Eric Miller listened in and has the story.
The State of the City, County, and Schools brings together leaders from around Raleigh and Wake County every year. And top of mind this year, housing, transit, and especially schools.
Our graduates are sought after.
Wake County Board of Education Chair Chris Haggerty says in 2025, the district has faced the good, the bad, and the ugly.
We began with a storm of almost daily federal executive orders that threaten the continuing operation of many valuable educational programs that serve some of our most vulnerable students.
And it's not just the federal government. Haggerty says the state hasn't provided the support he says is needed to keep Wake County schools well funded.
It's hard to get money out of our state legislature just to maintain the schools we have, let alone open more.
Haggerty said the district is also facing some looming challenges, from housing prices that are increasingly beyond what many school staff can afford to an increasing share of students coming from working poor households, a reality he says is reflected in the number of schools where the majority of students qualify for free or reduced lunches.
More than 60 schools in 2024. That's a 50% increase. That indicates a large concentration of poverty in families coming up our community.
Raleigh and Wake County leaders say tackling the housing shortage remains top of mind for them. Both governments plan to spend millions of dollars to try to add more affordable units in the area in the coming years.
In addition to the work that we're doing to try to build affordable housing, we need to just find ways to accommodate more density in our region.
And of course, transit top of mind for those city and county leaders as well, especially that promised bus rapid transit line. Both city and county leaders said they're continuing to try to get that project up off the ground, with Raleigh Mayor Janet Cowell telling me she's set to go to Washington in the coming days to lobby for continued federal support for that project. In Raleigh, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
For the first time in 100 years, actually more than that, NC State and UNC's men's team will only play one time in the regular season. How can the ACC let this happen? Well, there are a few reasons. I'm betting you can figure out at least one of them. Money. We're going to head to Murph's Turf right after the break. And stick around for tonight's One Last Thing. A student from North Carolina is in the final round of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. She spelled some pretty tough words, too, to get this far. Let's see if we can do any of them ourselves after the break. Next basketball season, UNC and NC State's men's teams will only play each other once in the regular season. You know, 2 games, one in Chapel Hill, one in Raleigh. That's been the tradition for over 100 years, and that ends next season. The reason why has to do with conference alignment, the NCAA tournament, and of course, money. To make it all make sense, I spoke to WRAL investigative sports reporter Brian Murphy and took a trip down to Murph's Turf. Murph, hey buddy.
How are you, Dan?
Good, man. So we got UNC and NC State are only playing once in the upcoming men's basketball season. Can you tell us why and why that is meaningful?
Yeah, they're only going to play one time in Raleigh. No return game to Chapel Hill for the first time since 1919. I don't think you can remember 1919, but neither can I. But there was a global pandemic and a world war happening, and they only played one time. They also played YMCAs, so that gives you a sense of how long ago that was. And this is happening because the ACC has dropped from 20 conference games to 18 conference games in the hopes of bolstering its profile and getting more teams in the NCAA tournament.
Now, this seems like it doesn't seem like, it is a really big deal to the local fan bases here. It's maybe something that some universities across the country might not be able to relate to, but when you have such powerhouses in this small area, it's a big part of our culture, and we're used to these teams playing each other.
Yeah, Dan, we've seen, rivalries sort of torn asunder across the country as conferences get bigger and schools leave their longtime home conferences. Those games have gone away, but UNC and NC State are in the same conference. They're still in the ACC, and the thought of them not playing a home and home, one game in Chapel Hill, one game in Raleigh, is kind of crazy, I think, if you ask local fans. They're used to playing this game just as much as UNC is used to playing Duke twice a year.
I know that some of this comes down to money, right? Maybe a lot of it comes down to money. Can you talk about that part of it, as well as the big fear from a lot of college fans that money is becoming the driving factor for what happens during the season, as opposed to some of the cultural things we become used to, like these rivalries?
Yeah, almost all of it is driven by money, right? Conference expansion was driven by money, more television viewers, more inventory that you can sell to TV networks. And so the ACC, which was 8 teams when I was growing up and became 9 teams, is now 18 teams. I mean, it stretches from coast to coast. It is not the ACC that I grew up with or many of our viewers grew up with. And what they grew up with was playing your rivals. So you probably know a lot of people that went to NC State if you went to UNC, or vice versa, and you converse with them. They might be members of your family. You're used to having bragging rights about who won this game or who won that game, and now all of a sudden you're only going to play one time, and that's so that North Carolina can play Syracuse twice, or they can play a game against Stanford or Cal. It seems kind of the opposite of what college sports used to be, and that the college sports that people fell in love with.
This news feels like a real bummer for some fans. Is there a bright side to it? Is there like a silver lining? Is there anything those fans will see and go, oh, well, at least we got this?
So much of the fandom in college athletics now is how much money do you make? And so the ACC, in theory, should make more money doing this. They should be able to put more teams in the NCAA tournament, which has been a big issue for the league. The league used to get, the majority of its members in the NCAA tournament. This year they only got 4 teams in the tournament. Remember, they're an 18-team league. It's the smallest percentage ever. And they see this transitioning 2 games from conference to non-conference as a way to bolster their resume come March when it's time for Selection Sunday. The problem is UNC, Duke, and even NC State now under Will Wade expects to have both. They expect to be able to play their rivals and make the tournament, not have to give up one for the other.
Sounds like a good move for the ACC, maybe something that fans are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and that's what college athletics has been for the last 20 years, making moves that benefit the conference, maybe at the expense of individual fans.
All right. Thanks, Murph.
Thanks, Dan.
And we have rain falling in Pinehurst right now as the dreary weather continues, Kat.
Well, I mean, we're almost done. We got to get through today, tomorrow, and maybe a little bit Saturday, but not quite so bad. Pinehurst, it is pouring rain right now, and there's still a lot more to come. Check out this radar, the dual Doppler 5000 radar, quite colorful. Still a lot of red showing up. We've got some torrential rain, not widespread torrential rain, but there are pockets of it, especially up toward Carthage right now. That's going to make its way towards Sanford. Northern Orange County as well, seeing a pretty intense thunderstorm move through. We're just starting to see the light rain move into Raleigh and Wake County. Still a bit of a dry period in Durham. Much of Raleigh points north, Henderson, Franklin County, Rocky Mount. So if you've got a dog, take him out right now before you see all this rain push in from the south. And there is a flash flood warning in Alamance County just to our west, so a heads up for anybody who could be traveling westbound on I-40. The flash flood warning in our southern counties is including Fayetteville. This is until 8:45 due to heavy rainfall. A couple warnings to our west, flash flood warnings that is. And look at all this heavy rain moving through the Sandhills right now. Goldsboro, a very steady rain. All that's lifting north, so it's going to be making its way into the triangle. Tomorrow, we've got a severe weather threat again. Tomorrow, more of a concern for severe storms. 3 to 8 p.m. especially, damaging winds, large hail, and an isolated tornado. And this threat is for the entire viewing area, a level 2 out of 5 risk. The timing 3 to 5 p.m. in our western counties. For Raleigh and Wake County, down into Fayetteville, Franklin County, 5 to 7 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. for Rocky Mount, Wilson, Goldsboro, Clinton, to name a few cities in our eastern counties. Futurecast tomorrow morning does actually show some rain early on. We could see some rain through about lunchtime, but that wouldn't be the severe weather. The severe storms should move in during the afternoon and evening. This is likely to create a mess for the evening commute for at least some of us, but we do see improvements later on tomorrow night. And notice the clearing back to our west by midnight. That's a sign that we are going to continue to see some clearing even after that. Saturday morning, we should get to wake up to some sunshine, and won't that feel good after what we've seen all week long. For your weekend forecast Saturday, there is still a chance for rain and storms during the afternoon and early evening. Not everybody's going to see rain, though, Saturday. It's a much different setup than our 90% chance of rain tomorrow. For Sunday, it's nice and dry, 80 degrees the high. Saturday will be in the low to mid 80s and perhaps a couple of thunderstorms rolling through, but not a washout. It would probably just be a window of storm chances, about an hour or two. For Sunday, that begins a drier pattern for us. It should really be a nice day, not too humid, 54 that morning, 80 for the high. Next week, we are warming up. We could even be back in the 90s by the time we get to next Thursday. But we've got a stretch 4 days in a row with no rain chances on the horizon. That will be nice to see and help us dry out, Dan.
A little sunshine back in our lives. Thank you, Kat. Hey, one last thing for you tonight. One last North Carolina student is in the Scripps National Spelling Bee. She's got a shot to win it all. Let's see how you would do if you could spell some of the words that got her into the competition. We're going to be right back after the break. But first, let's get you ready for this weekend. All that rain is set to clear come Saturday, and there's so much going on out and about. One last thing tonight, and it has to do with bees. And once again, no, we're not talking about that amazing Jason Statham movie that came out last year. To be or not to be, I choose to be. That is an actual line from the movie, and it's amazing. In fact, we're talking about spelling bees tonight, specifically this year's Scripps National Spelling Bee. The first round is on tonight, the final round rather, at 8 o'clock, and one of the finalists in that final round is from North Carolina. Ashwari Kalakuri is from Charlotte. She's an 8th grader at Valor Prep Academy. This is her second trip to the National Spelling Bee. Last year, she tied for 22nd place, so she's good. She's good. She's back at it. Now, if you haven't watched the Spelling Bee, you should know these are some seriously difficult words that they've had to spell. For example, the word that got her into the finals was tallygalone. Do you think you can spell that? Give it a try. Tallygalone. It's a type of Australian fish. You got it? Let's put up the spelling so they know. Tallygalone. If you didn't get it, don't feel bad. When I looked it up, I put it in my phone, and it had a red line under it. Even my iPhone was like, that's not a word. It is, iPhone. It is. Thank you for making WRAL your choice for local news. Our next newscast is at 10 o'clock on Fox 50 and at 11 right back here on WRAL. Have a great night.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.